All of these things, though they once made me feel ashamed and humiliated, I refuse to grow old in silence. I have simply been waiting for the right moment to call out each person by name. That declaration was not the voice of a queen, but the anguished cry of a shattered soul. At the age of 63, Demi Moore, once one of Hollywood's most iconic symbols of sensuality, has finally revealed the 5 actors she despises the most. This is the story of the downfall of a woman who once stood at the pinnacle of glory, a fierce warrior in G.I. Jane, a dangerously captivating beauty in Indecent Proposal, and the first actress ever to command a $12 million salary for a single role. Yet that dazzling spotlight concealed a bitter tragedy. Why would a woman brave enough to shave her head for art, bold enough to publicly love someone 15 years younger, collapse to the floor just because she was called a relic of a bygone golden era? Who was the one who once whispered that she had a body without a soul? Who was the man who promised, "I will always be by your side," only to walk away when she broke down from a drug overdose? All of those things once brought her shame and pain. Now, as those wounds have hardened into hatred, Demi Moore chooses to confront them. This is not a memoir, it is a tear-soaked exposé of betrayal. The story begins, and you will find it hard to believe who delivered the final stab into the back of a goddess. Bruce Willis, love traded for glory. He once called her a goddess. He made her shed the mantle of a rising star to take on the role of a wife. But in the end, he was the one who traded her body and soul for a glittering lie called family happiness. The first betrayer, the cinematic hero adored by the world, except by her, Bruce Willis. The meeting between Demi Moore and Bruce Willis in 1987 at the premiere of Stakeout was like a Hollywood explosion, a dramatic twist of fate. After her turbulent and broken relationship with Emilio Estevez, Demi was fragile and yearning for a deep connection, a place to anchor herself. She fell into Bruce's arms, a rising star radiating chaos and irresistible recklessness from Die Hard. Their love ignited fiercely and hastily. They fell in love quickly, married even faster within just a few months, and together wrote a modern fairy tale, The Untamed Cowboy and the Enchanting Muse. In the public eye, they were a golden couple, the perfect fusion of fame and family life on a peaceful Idaho ranch. Bruce was the embodiment of masculinity, an action hero. Demi was a profound and alluring dramatic actress. Together, they crafted an image of power, stability, and style that captivated the entire nation. But Bruce never truly wanted a traditional marriage. He needed a base and a status symbol named Demi Moore. His ambition rose above every vow. His hunger for fame knew no limits. He wanted a wife who was beautiful and talented, yet willing to step into the background. Promises of family were nothing more than a gilded facade. In his mind, Demi was a solid foundation that allowed him to freely chase the spotlight without restraint. For Demi, 13 years of marriage meant 13 years trapped in an invisible war. That marriage became Bruce's one-sided pursuit of fame. As he gradually became the financial pillar and chased the spotlight, Demi was forced into a role without a script: the dutiful wife, the devoted mother. She sacrificed countless career opportunities, turning down roles that later became major successes, like Sleepless in Seattle and Indecent Proposal, stepping away from the stage to keep the family together and care for their 3 daughters. But those sacrifices were not met with appreciation. Instead, she endured lonely nights while Bruce filmed far away, absent from home for months at a time, along with persistent rumors of private parties and fleeting relationships she was never part of. Bruce openly prioritized his career above all else. The physical distance gradually turned into emotional distance, a way for him to preserve his freedom while maintaining the image of a family man in public. Demi once proudly said, "I was the only woman who loved Bruce before the whole world did." But as the world celebrated him as a hero, she slowly disappeared. She was confined to the role of Bruce Willis's wife, overshadowed by her husband's towering presence. Her artistic identity faded, her sense of self eroded, and she became a decorative object, a trophy in his collection of success. The irony reached its peak when they co-starred in Mortal Thoughts, 1991. Demi played a woman interrogated over her husband's death, portrayed by Bruce. On screen, she concealed the truth. In real life, she hid her tears. Their confrontational scenes were not merely acting. They were veiled reality. The fear, loneliness, and pain in her eyes when facing her on-screen husband were not fabricated. They were the genuine emotions of a woman realizing her marriage was nothing more than a perfect facade. She lost herself, trading her career and identity for a fragile belief in eternal love. The divorce in 2000 marked the peak of her pain. The media called it an amicable split, a model of co-parenting. They continued to appear together in public, raising their 3 daughters, smiling on magazine covers. But no one knew the cost behind that grace. It was an agreement to protect Bruce Willis's flawless image. Just a few months after the divorce, Demi was hospitalized for mental exhaustion. One haunting question echoed in her mind like a curse. For those 13 years, who was I married to? A husband or a monster? When Bruce publicly revealed a new relationship just weeks later, all illusions shattered completely. Demi realized that the man admired by the world had never truly belonged to her, and those 13 years had merely made her a trophy in his collection. She collapsed, not just because of the divorce, but because she realized her sacrifices had been meaningless. In 2022, when Bruce was diagnosed with aphasia and cognitive decline that moved the entire nation, Demi remained silent in public, appearing as a compassionate ex-wife to protect the family. But in her private journal, she wrote a chilling sentence that distilled all her pain. "I don't hate him for leaving me. I hate that he made me believe my love and my sacrifices were enough to make him stay." With Bruce Willis, Demi Moore lost more than a marriage. She lost her faith in the sanctity of love and a vital part of herself. That first betrayal set a painful precedent for everything that followed. Ashton Kutcher, the fatal blow to dignity. If her marriage to Bruce Willis shattered Demi Moore's faith in commitment and family, then her relationship with Ashton Kutcher stripped away her dignity and nearly cost her life. The second betrayer was the young man she once supported, the one who turned his back on her with chilling cruelty. When Demi publicly revealed her relationship with Ashton, a young, handsome actor 15 years her junior, Hollywood was shaken by waves of controversy and judgment. The public saw it as an act of desperation, a midlife rebellion to cling to youth, even a challenge to social norms. Yet Demi believed it was true love, a chance to rewrite her life, a powerful declaration that love is not bound by age. She bravely faced ridicule while pouring her emotions, reputation, career, and resources into helping Ashton transform from a teen comedy star into a serious film actor. But behind the radiant smiles on the red carpet lay an abyss of despair. The 15-year age gap created a constant, unspoken pressure, turning Demi's love into an endless battle against time and insecurity. She constantly questioned herself. Am I still attractive enough for a 27-year-old man? Those doubts drove her to change in frightening ways, forcing herself into extreme diets, training to the point of exhaustion, and undergoing painful cosmetic surgeries. All of it was to maintain a youthful, slender image, to preserve the admiring gaze of her young husband. She sacrificed her essence, her health, and even her mental stability, trying to fit into Ashton's world, clinging to the illusion that she could defeat the one enemy no one can conquer: time. In 2011, everything collapsed. The world was stunned when Ashton was caught spending the night with a 22-year-old woman on their 6th wedding anniversary. The tragedy was not just the physical betrayal, but the psychological blow that brought Demi to her knees. She deteriorated rapidly. Less than 4 months later, she was hospitalized for both physical and mental exhaustion due to a drug overdose, a desperate cry for help from a soul that had been drained. But the most brutal moment, when her dignity was completely crushed, came when she read a message on Ashton's phone, a cold, emotionless remark, not spoken in anger, but in indifference. "You used to be younger. You make me feel old." That was the fatal blow. Those words confirmed every hidden fear, every desperate effort, and all the pain she had endured were meaningless. He did not see love or sacrifice, only a reminder of his own aging. That sentence took away what little dignity Demi had left. She had changed everything, endured all judgment, only to be rejected as if she had never been good enough, as if her aging was a burden to him. They divorced in silence, but that silence became a grave that buried her honor, while the media and social networks mocked her as a pathetic cougar. While Demi paid with her health and dignity, Ashton quickly rebuilt his image, married Mila Kunis, a younger woman from his own generation, and became a family man, forgiven and praised by the public. That contrast was the final humiliation. In her memoir Inside Out, Demi wrote to reclaim her dignity, distilling her pain with bitterness. "I don't hate that he betrayed me. I hate that I changed everything to keep someone, and in the end, I was still abandoned as if I had never been enough." With Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore lost more than a marriage. She lost her sense of self, her confidence in her body and soul, and nearly her life. She survived. And at the age of 63, the memories of those two tragic marriages have become the fuel for her vow to confront the truth. The fire has been ignited. Now, it is time to name the third betrayer. Patrick Swayze, the on-screen lover, a stranger behind the scenes. He once stood beside her on set, held her hand in a scene that became a cinematic legend, as if they were two halves of the same soul. But when the lights went out, he coldly called her box office poison, closing every door to friendship. The third betrayer, the on-screen lover but a stranger behind the scenes, Patrick Swayze. In 1990, Ghost was not just a film, but a cultural phenomenon, an immortal imprint of love transcending death. The pottery scene between Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, set to the haunting melody of Unchained Melody, became a global cinematic icon. Audiences, critics, and all of Hollywood believed that the perfect chemistry and emotional connection they displayed on screen must have come from a deep bond in real life. They were seen as a golden couple, inseparable kindred spirits. But only Demi understood that behind it all was a story of terrifying loneliness. Off-camera, they barely spoke. Their on-screen chemistry was merely the result of absolute professionalism, a mask they both wore. Even before the film's release, distance had already formed. When Ghost prepared for global promotion, Patrick refused to appear with her. He bluntly told producers, without hesitation, "I don't work well with her. She's too emotional." That statement spread within the industry, unintentionally branding Demi Moore with a dangerous label, an emotional diva. She was no longer seen as a colleague, but a burden. Not a co-star, but an actress who was too emotional, someone difficult for others. After the film's massive success, Demi tried to maintain contact, hoping their shared achievement would close the gap. But Patrick remained completely distant. He didn't reply to her letters, didn't return her calls. Worse still, in a 1992 interview, when asked about her, he gave a faint smile and said, "We worked well on screen. Off-screen, there's nothing to talk about." Demi was not angry, but she was hurt. She realized she had never existed in the memory of the man the world believed was her soulmate. She was not a partner, just a tool that helped him reach success. The most beautiful moment of her life, when she exposed her deepest vulnerability, was shared with someone who saw her only as a role, not as a person. When Patrick passed away from cancer in 2009, Demi quietly sent flowers to his funeral. No public words, no farewell. That silence felt like a private ending. In her journal, she wrote a chilling sentence that summed it all up. "The most beautiful scene of my life was shared with someone who saw me only as a role, not as a human being." With Patrick Swayze, she lost her illusion of artistic connection. Tom Cruise, a hero on screen, a judge behind the scenes. The fourth betrayer needed no words, only glances and silence. A hero on screen, but behind it all, a cold judge who stripped her of the right to stand as an equal. He was Tom Cruise. In 1992, A Few Good Men had America captivated. Demi Moore stood alongside two icons, Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, playing Lieutenant Joanne Galloway, a lone woman fighting for military justice. She worked hard to earn that role. But while audiences saw a powerful trio, Demi felt like an outsider, observed rather than acknowledged as a teammate. On set, Tom Cruise maintained a level of professionalism so cold it became distant. No eye contact outside of scenes, no words of encouragement, no shared meals. He built an invisible wall that left Demi constantly feeling judged, measured against a standard she could never reach. When filming ended, Tom cut off all contact. Demi didn't think it was personal until she heard a 1994 interview where he spoke about female co-stars. "Some people try to prove they are strong, but to me, true strength lies in control." She knew the remark was aimed at her. It wasn't just a professional critique. It was a denial of who she was, implying that her strength was merely forced effort, a sign of weakness. The next blow came when A Few Good Men received Oscar nominations. Her name was not mentioned. When the press asked about it, Tom simply gave a cold smile and said, I'm not sure she contributed that much to the film's success. A short sentence, but enough to erase all her efforts. The night studying scripts. The pressure of standing beside cinematic legends. Demi once believed Tom was a symbol of discipline and professionalism. But in the end, she realized he was not a teammate, but a judge. Someone who only accepted those who met his standards of control. And she was always excluded. She wrote, "He didn't shout like Jack Nicholson, but his gaze felt like a courtroom. I was always the defendant." With Tom Cruise, Demi Moore didn't just lose a role. She lost the right to be acknowledged, to stand as an equal as a true artist. Rob Lowe, the man who turned her into an object. And with the final betrayer, the young man who turned her into a fantasy image for an entire generation, the one who stripped away her right to be taken seriously. The fifth betrayer, Rob Lowe. About Last Night, 1986, was the stepping stone that turned Demi Moore into a star, the embodiment of the bold, individualistic young woman of the 1980s. But to Rob Lowe, her handsome co-star, it was merely a romantic film filled with intimate scenes meant to boost entertainment value. During filming, Demi worked tirelessly, determined to break free from the image of just a pretty face and prove the depth of her acting. In contrast, Rob spent his evenings in the dressing room with fans, treating the intimate scenes as personal conquests. That superficial attitude became a cruel blow 2 years later. When Rob Lowe's sex tape scandal erupted in 1988, his career was seriously threatened. To salvage his image, he launched a reinvention campaign by recounting the intimate scenes from About Last Night as proof of his sexual prowess and masculinity. Demi Moore's name was dragged into unrelated headlines, tied to trivial gossip, while she was striving to build a reputation as a serious actress. Worse still, Rob once made a statement on television that sounded polite but diminished her completely. "Demi is the ideal co-star. She always puts you in the mood." That remark, under the spotlight and the media's scrutiny, turned Demi into a tool for male desire. It was a blunt denial of her career, her inner life, and her efforts. She bitterly realized, "I don't perform love scenes to arouse anyone, but to some people, simply being a woman already makes you an object." Rob Lowe gradually recovered from the scandal, praised as a symbol of comeback. But Demi Moore continued to be dragged down whenever anyone mentioned the rebellious girls of the 80s. She had to fight through Ghost and A Few Good Men to prove she was more than a name confined by stereotypes. With Rob Lowe, Demi didn't lose a role. She lost the right to be taken seriously for an entire decade. What's most striking is that, after everything, Demi Moore did not collapse because of scandals. She collapsed because of whispers behind her back, embraces meant only for the camera, and 5 faces that once called her a muse. She remained silent for too long. And now, at 63, it is time for her to reclaim justice for her exposed and wounded soul. Those 5 wounds did not come suddenly. They were silent blades, cutting deeper over the years. Bruce Willis took away her faith in love. Ashton Kutcher shattered her self-respect. Patrick Swayze denied companionship. Tom Cruise dismissed her right to equality, and Rob Lowe turned her into an object. After each betrayal, Demi lost not just a man or a role. She lost a part of herself, a memory she struggled to hold on to. When Demi Moore collapsed from a drug overdose in 2012, it was not merely the effect of substances. It was the peak of emotional exhaustion after being abandoned by Ashton. It marked the end of a journey eroded by insults, rejection, and loneliness. She had tried to please everyone, to be Bruce's wife, Ashton's lover, Patrick's co-star, Tom's teammate, and Rob's muse. But when all those roles collapsed, she no longer knew who she was. Her journey of treatment and self-recovery after the crisis was not a triumphant victory. It was a quiet battle in the dark. She learned to look in the mirror and accept that the face marked by time, the no longer perfect body, was still her, and still worthy. Her recovery did not come from new roles, but from time with her 3 daughters, from rebuilding a peaceful relationship with Bruce Willis, and from accepting a truth. Betrayers may shape a career, but they cannot define who she is. Now at 63, Demi Moore is no longer the sex symbol Hollywood once pursued. Instead, she has become a symbol of hard-earned serenity. She no longer chases extreme diets, no longer forces herself into surgery, no longer cares about glamorous parties. She finds joy in simplicity, in family connection, and in a career guided by meaning. Her beauty is no longer the dangerous allure of indecent proposal, but the beauty of survival. Her wrinkles are traces of battles fought, her gaze calm yet resolute. She has won not by defeating others, but by refusing to let them control her soul any longer. Her statement at 63 is not to demand justice, for she understands that in the whirlwind of fame, justice can sometimes be an illusion. What she needs is to be heard, because there are wounds that never appear in headlines. They leave no scars on the skin, but carve deeply into the soul, quietly taking away a woman's sense of self over time. Demi's pain is not the loss of a man, but the loss of faith in herself, the loss of her right to be respected. This list of 5 betrayers is not meant to destroy them. It is a declaration of liberation for herself. It is her way of affirming that after all the whispers, the fake embraces, and the cruel rejections, she still exists, she has survived, and she remembers everything clearly. This is how she forgives herself for having believed, loved, and sacrificed. It is also a reminder that kindness is easily exploited, and that professionalism can sometimes be a mask for coldness. If you have ever loved a role played by Demi Moore, don't leave without sharing this story. Fame may fade, glory may dim, but pain deserves to be remembered. Remember the 5 names that helped shape one of Hollywood's great tragedies. And remember, in the search for truth, strength does not lie in silence, but in the courage to name those who caused the harm. The verdict has been delivered. Demi Moore has set herself free.